Peaches, or more accurately, the baskets used to gather peaches, are the source of the nets that athletes use to dunk the ball and score points in the popular game of basketball. On a chilly day in 1891, a young athletic director finally used it for a new game he invented to keep his students interested. When a New England storm caused students to spend days indoors, James Naismith, a 31-year-old graduate student, was teaching physical education at the International YMCA Training School, now known as Springfield College in Springfield, Massachusetts. Marching, calisthenics, and apparatus work were the typical winter sports, but they were not nearly as exciting as football or lacrosse, which were performed in the warmer months. Naismith aimed to design a game that would be easy to learn yet engaging because of its complexity. The game needed to support multiple players at once and be playable inside. The game also needed to provide the pupils a lot of exercise, but it couldn't be as physically demanding as rugby, football, or soccer, because those sports could cause more serious injuries if played in a small area. Naismith went over to the school janitor in the hopes of finding 2 square boxes for goal posts. Upon returning after his search, the janitor found 2 fruit baskets. One fruit basket per side was fastened by Naismith to the lower rail of the gymnasium balcony. That lower balcony rail was incidentally 10 feet high. To try to put the ball in their team's basket, the pupils would play in teams. To recover the ball from the basket and return it to play, someone was positioned at either end of the balcony. The boys started tackling, kicking, and punching in the crunches, and before I could pull them apart, they ended up in a free-for-all in the middle of the gym floor. Naismith remarked in January 1939 on his sole-known recording with The People, a radio program broadcast on war in New York City. One boy suffered a knockout. One of them had a dislocated shoulder and several had black eyes, stated Naismith. I was afraid they would kill each other after that first match, but they insisted on playing again, so I made up some more rules, a speaker said. The multi-billion-dollar industry of today had its modest origins as the only professional sport to originate in the United States. Tens of thousands of people packed stadiums for the National Collegiate Athletic Association's NCAA March Madness College Basketball Tournament, which features the top 68 teams from a field of more than 1,000 schools, as well as lucrative television deals. Naismith proceeded to revise the rules until they became what are generally referred to as the original 13 rules, rather than creating them all at once. A few of them are still present in the current game. The original game rules by Naismith brought approximately $4.3 million at auction in 2010. The ball might be thrown with one or both hands any direction, but never in a fist, according to the original rules. A player had to toss the ball from the spot it was caught, not run with it. It was forbidden for players to strike, trip, or push their rivals. The initial infraction was regarded as a foul. A player would be out until the next goal was scored if they committed a second foul. However, if a player was shown to have intended to cause harm to an opponent, they would be eliminated from the game altogether. The umpires recorded fouls, acted as game judges, and had the authority to remove players from the competition. They controlled the clock, determined which side the ball belonged to, and determined when it was in bounds. Umpires recorded goals and determined when a goal had been made. When the ball is batted or tossed from the field into the basket and remains there, it is considered a goal. A goal would be scored if the ball was on the edges and the opposition moved the basket. The first person to touch the ball was the one who threw it into the field of play when it went out of bounds. The ball would go to the opponent if the person tossing it kept it for longer than the allotted 5 seconds. An umpire would toss the ball directly into the field in the event of a disagreement. The umpire would call a foul on the team that continued to delay the game. A game consisted of 2 15-minute halves separated by a 5-minute interval. The winning team was the one that scored the most goals in the given amount of time. A game might go on until another goal is scored if it is tied. The YMCA Gymnasium hosted the first ever basketball game played in public, which was captured on camera by the Springfield Republican on March 12, 1892. The teachers engaged in student versus teacher play. About 200 people came to witness and learn about this brand new sport that they had never seen or heard of before. The professors were given credit for agility in the Republican article, but the students' science was what won them the match 5-1. The sport quickly gained popularity in a matter of weeks. At their own YMCAs, students from different schools introduced the game. The initial guidelines were published in a collegiate publication and distributed by mail to YMCAs throughout the nation. Many foreign countries were also introduced to the sport thanks to the college's well-represented international student body. Basketball was first taught in high schools, and by 1905 it had gained formal recognition as a year-round winter activity. The NCAA states that there is a controversy over the first ever intercollegiate basketball match between 2 schools. 2 stories from the school newspaper from 1893 detailed different recordings of college basketball games between the opposing college squad. Less than a year after Naismith invented the sport in 1892, Senda Berenson, a gymnastics instructor at Smith College, brought the game to women's athletics. Stanford University and University of California, Berkeley played the first ever intercollegiate women's sports game in 1896. The sport was added as a demonstration event at the 1904 Olympic Games in St. Louis after gaining notice from the International Olympic Committee due to its increasing popularity. Basketball wasn't acknowledged as a medal event until 1936. It was not until the 1976 Montreal Olympics that women's basketball was added to the Olympic medal events. In Cambodia, wheelchair basketball transformed the lives of these ladies. As the sport was growing quickly, professional leagues started to emerge all across the country. Fans of basketball supported their new teams in their hometowns. The National Basketball League, NBL, which was founded in 1898 and consisted of 6 teams from the Northeast, was the first professional league. The league was only around for a couple of years. The league was reestablished in 1937, 33 years after it had been discontinued in 1904, with 13 teams and a completely rebuilt support structure. The league's proprietors were the corporations Goodyear, Firestone, and General Electric. Even when professional sports leagues attracted national notice, collegiate basketball remained a mainstay. 8 teams participated in the inaugural NCAA tournament, which was hosted by Northwestern University in 1939. The University of Oregon became the first collegiate basketball national champion. Ohio State University was defeated by the squad. Basketball was segregated in the early to mid-1900s, just like most of the United States. Chuck Cooper was picked by the Boston Celtics in 1950, but the sport would not become integrated until then. Before Cooper was selected, there were black teams all across the nation that were referred to as the Black Fives, which was a term used to describe the starting 5 players on a basketball team. Black teams without a white player were called Negro Cagers or Colored Quints. The clubs were successful in Chicago, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and New York City, Washington, D.C., and other places with sizable African-American populations. They were professionals, semi-professionals, and amateurs. 68 teams compete in the yearly March Madness tournament out of the more than 1,000 collegiate basketball teams across all NCAA divisions. The top collegiate teams in the nation battle for a spot in the Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, and eventually the national title. They represent their respective conferences. Basketball has evolved over a century, despite the fact that it isn't played the same as it was when Naismith created it. Nets, metal hoops, and plexiglass blackboards have taken the place of peach baskets. Share your thoughts with us by commenting down below. Tell us in the comments and subscribe to watch more of us.